forget. Sometimes we never forget. Haven't seen the end of it yet. We'll fight as long as we live. All eyes on the hidden door to the lonely mountain road. We'll ride in a gathering storm till we get our long forgotten goal.
All right, so welcome to Tac Chat number 45. I'm Dan, your host, and this is a special voting day edition of Tac Chat. I'm going to start this out how I want to start these out all the time. No means not. We're not having this. We're not believing you. You're not the boss of us. We're not your slaves, and some of us are not voting. And it's funny whenever I tell people I'm not voting, they get real offended, like, wow, no wonder you think we're slaves. You don't vote. And, you know, I get it. I've been told I can show up probably a little bit better than what I have been, and I really appreciate actually some of the feedback I got from a couple people. But understand that the greatest service we can do right now is to not vote, to not feed the system, okay? All voting is literally this. Doesn't matter, my whole life, left or right, didn't matter who was in office, they're working together. It's a WWE show behind the scenes, but people are so ego entrenched they don't get it. And that's okay. And I also understand that sometimes on Facebook I can come across as adversarial, and I really try not to be, but you know, Jesus was a rebel, and I'm not trying to be Jesus, but Jesus taught natural law, and I'm going to get into that today. Which brings me to what we talked about, me and this one person, and they had some questions. How would us understanding natural law, how would us understanding karma, okay, for those who don't understand what natural law is, they understand what karma is in general, although they usually think there's some type of negative connotation on it, because this person thought that I thought, karma was negative, and nothing could be further from the truth. I have had some karma come back to me that I was ecstatic about, okay? You know, keep in mind, people like Bill Gates and other individuals who are multi-billionaires will, without any altruistic, emotional intent, they'll out of nowhere donate like $1 million, because the universe, they understand natural law. They understand that the universe sees that as something, hey, well, we'll keep giving you more if you're going to keep giving it to people. They have no love or true care behind it when they do it. They're doing it as part of what they need to do, okay? But this person wanted to know what, how would that affect American voting if everyone understood what real karma was, after I got this person to understand that karma is in effect all the time. And there are some righteous questions. You know, they're righteous questions. So I first wanted to, let them know that natural law, we're talking about karma when we say natural law. The law of cause and effect, the law of causation, okay? It's the dynamics of human consciousness, which dictates what comes back at us based on the actions we put out into the world. And everyone has heard about, what goes around comes around. What you sow, you too shall reap. Okay, this is karma. Okay, it's neutral, it's benign, and they were wondering, well, how would it affect voting? Well, or people not voting? Well, people wouldn't vote if we all understood what karma really was. And so, for instance, if the true law of attraction in a universe of mirrors, so what we put out comes back to us based on actions, okay, how would that affect, say, the right-wing capitalists? Well, one, they wouldn't be putting up walls. They wouldn't be so cold to, or at least come across as so cold to people who need help. When you understand that what you put out into the universe good comes back to you good, people will be tripping over themselves to help people. There wouldn't be no refugees at the border. There wouldn't be no wall. There'd be no need for capitalism. People would voluntarily help others because they know it's helping themselves. Remember, in the Bible, and I'm not going to quote scripture, okay, but Jesus was teaching natural law. That was another question that came up. How come I always say that? Well, didn't Jesus, didn't it say in the Bible, and Jesus said eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth? Didn't Jesus also say, love your neighbors, you love yourself? That literally is a definition of natural law. What you put out is what you get back. And he was very confrontational, and they attempted to murder him for it. So that's what I mean by that. Now, if we want to go over to socialism, how would it stop socialism? Well, under natural law, one of the transgressions against natural law, the really only transgression in natural law, boils down to theft. They all boil down to theft. So understanding that it's wrong to steal, there would be no socialists or communists. Okay? Literally understanding what natural law is, like at a 5th grade level of mentality to understand what it is, would lead to, within a couple of generations, of people would help each other voluntarily. People wouldn't steal from each other, okay? So that was one of the things I had to talk to this person about. They needed to understand what it is. And I have to explain. Anyone who doesn't know, nature, natural, right, it means it's based, inherent in nature. Man didn't make it. Okay, law is something that's binding and immutable. It cannot change. I'm not talking about man's arbitrary dictates that are often egoically and greed-driven puppetitions changing laws. That's any law. That's not law. Okay, the law of gravity, the law of thermodynamics, right? The law of how we behave, the law of actions. Actual actions we take in the world. These are laws that we have to abide by. And you don't have to believe in them. They believe in you. So it's kind of nice to know that there's something that believes in us. Okay, natural law is it's benign. It's neutral. It's always in effect. If people understood this, no one would be forced to. We wouldn't be forced. We'd be tripping over ourselves to help people. Okay, we wouldn't be stealing. There would be no political elections. There would be none of that stuff. We wouldn't have it, because all this really is the illusion of choice, right? If you look at that top picture, wow, there's our choices, and at the bottom, you look how close to both sides are to slavery versus freedom. They both are doing nothing but victimizing half the country. Actually, the whole country. They do the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that. This really isn't that long of a Tac Chat. I could have gone more in depth, but I just got done training, and I just wanted to put something out there on election day. If we start teaching objective morality under natural law, if we start getting other people to understand that voluntarism is the way to go, within a couple of generations we will have a free society. But overcoming people's egos is pretty hard to do. We got our work cut out for us. When I tell people I don't vote, the reaction I get is, "Oh, so you're not a help at all." Blah blah blah. Natural law is so. And they think it has something to do with animals. And I have to. No, it's karma. Okay, it's karmic law. It has nothing to do with animals. But I was surprised that so many people don't understand that. So I usually just say karma right now. If I go to explain natural law, it almost gets too complicated for some people. But you got to, in the comments here, or in the below section of this, I'm going to put a couple links to help you understand, for anyone, and this is for my friends. This is just for my personal friends who've asked me questions. This isn't to anyone else. I know, so a lot of my personal friends watch this. Anyone else sees it's cool. I'm going to have a couple links. There's a documentary called The Science of Natural Law by Mark Passio. Watch it. It's an hour long. It's not a big deal. I'm also going to have an 8-hour presentation I'll put in there. That's all over YouTube. If you got the time, watch an hour a day or so if you can. In 1 week you could have the whole thing watched. Unless you drive for a living, then you probably could have it watched in a day or two. But listened to. But yeah, it was just an interesting conversation, because I guess I was coming across as adversarial, and I think sometimes when you're battling all the lies that we're battling, we're going to sometimes come across like that. And I certainly don't mean to. You know, I want to put love and compassion out into the universe. Just like a person I've seen today. Again, I see real fear out there. And then I seen a whole lot of masks today for some reason. And some of it was some smugness. And so anyone who wasn't wearing a mask was like the enemy of the people who were wearing masks. It's like literally it is mind control, man. And I just think that like a lot of my friends should be smarter, you know, are smarter than that, and just understand what karma actually means. If we start to understand that what we put out is what we get back, we live in a universe of mirroring. That's what natural law actually is. You know, understand that science is just a word we use to describe a process. To find out the truth that's inherent in nature that we don't know about yet. That's all science actually is. Understand that God's law can't be changed. Okay, they're boundary conditions. They're immutable. They don't change. Once you understand this, that this behavioral law will affect us personally, not only in the microcosms of our life, but in the entire world, what we got going on. You got a whole world of communism stealing from people. That's all that's getting put up into the collective. And if people understood the karma that's coming back at the world because of that, they wouldn't do it. Because we're all going to share the same fate. And a lot of us are trying to warn people, okay? You know, with that said, I'm going to always go back to this one, man. This is freedom. This is freedom. Those shackles will slide right off. All we have to do is stand up and say we've had enough. All we have to do is say no means not. Okay, so this has been a really quick, probably, I hope it's not too confusing for anybody, but I just wanted to put some stuff out there to friends who need to understand what karmic law is. It's benign, it's neutral, it isn't bad. We wouldn't need capitalism because people would voluntarily help others. There wouldn't be walls. People trip over themselves to help people if they understood that good stuff was coming right back at them because of it. I've actually had this happen in my life, okay? Donate some money when you really don't have a lot and something good comes back to you. The universe sees that as, hey, this person will help people if we keep giving this person money, and I got taken care of. Okay? With that said, it's like I said, I'll repeat it. It bears repeating. Socialism, communism, those things wouldn't exist. It's wrong to steal. Bad juju comes back at you if you steal. People would understand these things if they could just understand the basics of natural law, of karma. Okay? But anyway, I just figured I'd throw that out there. And to all my friends, I really, truly hope that you don't vote and you never vote again. And we need to just start raising our voices on not voting, okay? I'm seeing shit on TV. I'll just say it now. The red wave. Oh my goodness. The red won this. Doesn't that happen almost every 4 years? Right? If there's a donkey cult leader in office, then the elephant cult at the halfway point will win a little bit. And then vice versa. All the time it happens. It's amazing, isn't it? And then there'll be this big blue wave in 2024. It's all set up to create more of a, I know this is going to sound really weird, a civil war, because this country divided is the only way this world can fall to a new world order. And with that said, read, research on your own. I told someone to research. They said, I'm not going to jump into that hole or whatever. Well, if you're not willing to jump into that hole and research, then you don't really know what the fuck you're talking about if you don't research a little bit. And until someone comes and takes me away, which is not going to be very easy for anyone to fucking do, I'm going to keep talking, man. And with that said, I just want to say, hey, man, I want to put out some love into the universe. I couldn't get by one Tac Chat without dropping at least one F-bomb, I guess. I was going to try not to today, but it's getting kind of hard. Anyways, man, love and peace to everybody. Stay safe until next time.